Hello out there. We're on the air. Oh, are we ever? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ninju, Johnny, Jason, AC, the Timber Crasher, and Big Bad Dan the Man. Dan the King, actually, we're going to call him. Dan the Man's too overused and not enough credit there. How we doing? What a beautiful day. Although it's not really that beautiful outside. It's a beautiful day inside here today. Still running through some issues with my allergies. And I just realized I didn't bring some TP to the show today. But that's okay. If I need to, I'll go grab one. Adrian, good morning. Sawadi crap. What the heck does that mean? Oh, that's hot. That's a little too hot. Okay, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This show focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. We got no flash, no flare, no bulls, no bear, just simply logic. Just logic. That's it. That's all we got here. We got Crypto Heathen over in Zap.stream. We got Letha. Good morning. Daniel and My Path to Fire, who just happened to zap 100 sats as we said his name or her name. I never know. It's a tough thing about the Bitcoin world is that everybody tries to remain fairly anonymous and not many pictures, profile pictures with faces on there, and not many names with give away they're one of two. They're one of two genders. Cheers to that. I do like a hoodie. I don't know. Is it just Canadians who wear hoodies a lot? I don't know. I've been talking to Eric from Juxtapose, and we're getting some King Golf Bitcoin stuff go in the works. And I said, well, we need a hoodie. And he said, what? Who wears hoodies? I said, me, every day, every damn day. It is a good morning. Adrian from Thailand, our good friend Adrian. Good morning. Rock and roll's here too. Look at that. Matt, holy, the whole crew's here today. Okay, let me quickly share this to the YouTube or to the nostr. And then we'll get on. We'll be on our ways. Got a good one today. It's called What Happens Next. And occasionally I like sharing my crystal ball that I have with you guys and girls. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're in a weird spot right now. Weird. I don't think things have ever been weirder in the Bitcoin world. Okay, there we go. We're live. Matt is over in Zap.stream as well. Wow, look at that. My Path to Fire says I like hoodies, but must have a zip. Really? I don't know. I hate the zip. It just gets in my way. I don't wear anything underneath the hoodie, so I feel like a zipper would be catching on my chest hair all day. Yeah, I haven't had the orange hoodie for a while. That's just a special occasion hoodie. I think we had it for the halving. We had it for one Saturday show. I got about 3. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have noticed, but I have about 3 things that I work through. One's a sweater, one's a 2 are hoodies, and they're all gray. So got to be consistent. Consistent in the wardrobe. Don't have to think about it. There's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and having to make too many decisions. So I like to keep it very simple, keep it consistent, and the less decisions in the morning, the better. I know what I'm going to have every day for breakfast. I know what I'm going to wear for my show. And then I just have to shower and figure out what the hell I'm going to talk about for an hour every day. Okay, well, let's get to it here. This show is called What Happens Next. We're going to be talking about kind of how I see things going down over this next year, next decade, and pretty much what we can do ourselves to prepare for that. So I actually want to start with a clip that's going to pour into today's show, but it's about visualization. But I should give a shout out to Rick here. The like has been smashed. a little birdie told me that you gave a shout out, so thanks. Who told you that, Rick? Who told you that, Rick? That's a myth. That's a conspiracy theory. No, we just got to help each other. That's the whole thing here. I've come to realize that in order for Bitcoin to succeed, everybody here who's working towards that common goal, we need to do everything that we can to support each other. And that includes different people, different channels, different businesses, people trying to earn some Bitcoin, trying to push their business forward within Bitcoin. We need to support each other. We're all just nodes in this network. That's it. Bitcoin is much bigger than all of us combined. And, but we need to do what we can for each other. So you're welcome, Rick. You deserve it for sure. One of the most consistent guys in the game, Rick Costa. Okay, look at this. We got new viewer, been watching for days. Love it. Well, glad to have you here. And thanks for joining the live chat. It's kind of the beauty of the show. That's the beauty of the show, is that the audience is just as big a part of it as I am. Daniel zapped 420 sats over on zap.stream. Thank you. And Crypto Ethan says, I can't remember the last time I wore a hoodie. I run too hot for that. Yeah, everybody's different. Everybody's got a different body temperature. And that's it. Anyways, enough hoodie chat for today. Let's body temperature. There we go. Let's turn that down a bit. Okay. Yeah, the wardrobe for a podcaster. At least I wear pants. And I would stand up, but I don't think anybody really wants to see a close-up shot of my crotch. So anyways, where should we start today? We're going to start with this video. This is the power of visualization, it's called. This is a great account actually on Twitter, if you're still on that platform. But listen to the words here. It kind of ties in with the Earl stuff that we've been talking about in terms of you become what you think about. And as we get through the show today, we're going to have some actionable items like we do every show. But I want you to keep this video in mind here, because when you think about how you're going to proceed in this and how you're going to be living through this next decade, I want you to think about this, and I want you to actually follow through with what he's saying here. If you can, if you want to. I mean, obviously I'm not going to enforce anything here. But let's bring this old fella up here. Okay, I don't know who the hell this guy is. I don't really care, but I love his message. So here we go.
If a person would sit down and let their body relax, totally relax, okay, and then start to visualize in their mind, see themselves the way they want to see themselves. See how you'd like to live your life. See yourself living it that way.
Okay.
Now understand that that's a picture in your mind. Take that picture and describe it. Write it out. Start to read it and read it and read it and read it every day. Carry it around and keep reading it. The one point that all the great teachers all down through history have all agreed on, they've been in complete unanimous agreement on it, we become what we think about. Now, it may be fantasy at first. It might even appear to us as being a lie. But if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it. Now, a lot of people will laugh at this and say, "That doesn't make any sense." It makes a lot of sense. They can't tell you why it doesn't. I could spend hours telling you why it does. If a person would sit down and let...
So that's the power of visualization. It's a tough word. I'm a big believer in that, and I think that I wanted to show that at the start of the show today, because I really want you to keep that in the back of your mind here as we talk about things today, as we kind of foresee what's coming here in Bitcoin and in our lives. Take a I don't know how long it'll take you, a while, but this stuff's very important, because you need to have some sort of direction where you're going. And I've witnessed this myself in terms of actually saying things out loud, writing things down, reading them every day, and watching what comes of that. As he said there, there's nobody who can tell you why that can't work. Through history, through a lot of years, a lot of decades here, nobody's been able to prove that theory wrong, but there's a lot of people who can prove it to be right. And I'm one of those people. So if you believe in that kind of stuff, I want you to try that out. If you don't, that's okay too. But that's what I wanted to start the show with today. So we got a little bit of Bitcoin news that we're going to zip through here. I think the biggest piece of news in the Bitcoin world right now is some dipshit named Sam Adrangi. And I'm going to show two clips here. Actually, no, I missed the metrics today. Holy, too much hoodie talk this morning. You guys mess with my flow here, my vinyasa. Okay, here, let's get to the metrics. See where we're at. Fees are high. Oh, fees are high. We're currently at block height 846,743. And if you're transacting on the Bitcoin layer 1, if you must, you're going to be paying quite a bit. You're going to be paying 41 sats per VByte. And it's coming down a little bit, it seems. We kind of peaked here at 48 sats per VByte. Let's see if I can move over. Oh, there's a new one there, Spider Pool. 43, yeah. So if you need to be moving Bitcoin, do it. But if not, I would definitely be holding off today. The price has gone up once again. Another day we're in the greens. $71,171 US for one Bitcoin. Look at that. Look at those numbers there. 2023, 1 year ago today, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $27,117 US. Lots of ones, lots of sevens there. And believe it or not, yesterday was the 17th straight day of inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs. A new record. 2020, 4 years ago today, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $9,695. Moscow time today. That's not right. $1 US will get you how much? I think while we're talking about numbers, I think 2024 is going to be the biggest year in Bitcoin history. 2024, mark it down, quote me on that. 2024 is going to be the biggest year in Bitcoin. And if you look at the numbers making up 2024, what are they up to? Our favorite number. So the sats today, Moscow time, $1 US will get you 1,407 sats. I can't highlight that, but it's up here. And somebody yesterday asked me the question. Oh shit. We got a lot of days here. That's back in January. Look at that, January. This year, the price of Bitcoin was $42,000. Oops. Sorry, hopefully I'm not making anybody too dizzy here. And the price here today in Canada is 97,459. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you got your magnifying glass out. 97,459. You'll just have to take my word for it. So somebody asked me yesterday, and the Moose Jaw time today is probably about the same. We're going to say it's 10.25, 1,025 sats for $1. So somebody asked me yesterday, what does the Moscow time mean? And I'm sure there's probably enough new people in the chat here where we can talk about this again. I talk about it every couple months just for the new folks here. But the Moscow time, essentially, I give that metric every morning. And what it means is $1 US, how many sats that will buy you. So $1 US, how many sats will that get you with $1 US? So that's the Moscow time. And the reason why it's called the Moscow time is from Jack Dorsey. I don't know how long ago it was. It was probably a couple of years now for sure. But he was testifying, I believe, in front of Congress. And they were doing it all virtually. And so he was set up with his webcam. And in the background, he had one of the block clocks. So the block clock is basically a clock that tells all the different metrics within Bitcoin. It says the block height, the Bitcoin price, the sats per dollar, all these metrics. And so he had that block clock in the background, and it said 1953 or something along those lines. So anyways, people unfamiliar with Bitcoin didn't know what it was. They thought it was a clock, an actual clock, and that it was displaying Moscow time. And so they accused Jack of being a Russian spy because his clock was in Russia time, which it actually wasn't Russian time. It was the sats per dollar. but that's why it's called Moscow time now. And the Moose Jaw time is basically just the Canadian version of that. Moose Jaw is a city here in Canada, in Saskatchewan province over. And so that's the Moose Jaw time is the Canadian equivalent. So how many sats will $1 Canadian get you? So that's what we talk about every day on the show. And it was our friend Ashoko who asked the question, I believe, yesterday. One of the nice things about, I don't know, I talk about this all the time on the show, but I just love the living the future community that we have going. We have 2 different chats now. We just opened up a new chat last week, and people just bullshitting. I think yesterday, the whole day, people were talking about movies in there in one of the chats. So it's it's a great place. If you have any questions, if you're having any issues with anything, you just throw it out there, and there's always at least 1 or 2 or more people who will help you with it. So I think that it's pretty hard to beat something like that, especially for the cost of it and the price tag on it. It's almost laughable, but anyways, that's not the point. The point of it is just to keep out the spam. So Steve, we got Steve over in the Zap stream. The grinder zapped 420 sats. Good morning. Thank you, my friend. I very much appreciate that. We also got Ashoka over in Zap.stream. So there we go. Rick said there's a joke on another YouTuber's channel, Proof of Pants. I was keep wanting to stand up here, but I'm not gonna. You guys trust me. Some days I wear shorts. I don't know if that counts or not, but most days I wear jeans. Ninju says, how do you guys manage fees? In terms of managing, I'm not sure what you mean. The best way to manage fees and really prepare yourself for the future is to keep some Bitcoin on like a wallet, like on your phone, a small amount, an amount that you'd be comfortable with losing. Like if you went out to the bar one night, how much cash would you keep in your wallet? That's how much Bitcoin you should be keeping on your phone, on a wallet. Then you have the majority of it in a cold storage, which you're not going to ever have to worry about the fees because that's never move it anywhere. Excuse me. And then you have a couple different Lightning channels. Maybe you got the Phoenix wallet, you got the Mutiny wallet for Lightning. So you move some over there when the fees are low, just basically preparing for the future and prepaying for the fees at a very low rate. And then you can utilize things like the Liquid Federation, I think it's called, and then the eCash as well. So you just, the best time to be preparing and managing fees is when fees are low. So I wouldn't be doing that today. Wait till they're about 8, 10, 12 sats per VByte. And just, you got to have patience. That's it. Just keep in mind that the fees are always going to come back down. I think there's people who have a different theory on that, but not me. Are there over 1 million moose in Canada? God, I don't know. Probably. There's probably 1 million moose here in Manitoba. No. I don't know. Okay, let's keep it rolling here. Let's keep it rolling. It's good to see Dan in the chat 2 days in a row here. Maybe he's working it too. Maybe he's working it into his routine now. Who knows? Oh, that's not what we want. Good thing that's all just emails from myself. Okay, we want to stop sharing that. I don't know how I'm interested to know what you guys do. If you guys come across something on the internet, in Bitcoin, whatever, if it's something that you want to keep, what do you usually do with it? I either email to myself or text to myself, but I don't know if that's the best route or not, honestly. Is there like a place where you guys keep all your resources or your links and stuff like that? What do you do with that? I don't know. I'm interested because, like I said, I'm not very good at it. Holy, it's windy here. Can you guys hear that? Okay. Here is Sam Adrangi. So they put out a tweet yesterday. This is Kerrisdale Capital founder, Sam. I don't know why I'm calling Saham. Sam Adrangi. So they put out a tweet yesterday saying that they're starting a war against Bitcoin miners. That's what they led with. And then this guy came on TV. It looks like he was on Yahoo Finance. the most trustworthy place to get your financial news, Yahoo. And he's talking about why he's short selling the Bitcoin miners. So let's take a look at this and see what he has to say, and then we'll discuss it. See what this weasel has to say.
Bitcoin mining is one of the stupidest business models we've come across in our time short selling over the past 15 years of running Kerrisdale. Basically, barriers to entry are zero. Companies from all over the world can buy these ASICs from China, take them next to a waterfall in South America and get much cheaper access to electricity. And be a lower cost producer. And basically, if you look at the economics behind all the Bitcoin miners in the United States, they don't make money. They just issue shares to pay themselves, a healthy stock comp and buy more ASICs and, never really generate a return. And the whole thing is sort of a scam. And we sort of published on Riot today, plan to publish on more. As this whole sector ultimately goes to zero. Bitcoin mining is one of the stupidest business models we've.
Interesting. So the tweet here is, this genius is shorting Bitcoin miners and MicroStrategy heading into the greatest crypto bull market in history. You cannot make this shit up. I don't know. I got a couple things on this. So we're gonna talk about the mining stuff, and then we're gonna talk about the next part, which is MicroStrategy here. So what do we think about that? He called it the worst business model in history. Bitcoin mining. So that's very easy to get into. The competition will be high, which, yes, that is correct. He said the barrier to entry is easy. You can always find cheaper energy, but that's the whole point. And I think that a lot of people are shitting on Bitcoin mining companies right now just because their costs have stayed the same, but the revenues got cut in half. So yes, we're in a period right now where things aren't great for Bitcoin miners. I just don't think this is the time to be shorting them, though. I will agree in a lot of ways to what he's saying, and I've been pretty consistent with that message on the show here. I would not invest in Bitcoin mining companies. I just think that there's way better places you can park your capital, including MicroStrategy, including a Bitcoin ETF. Or the best option there is buying Bitcoin yourself and taking self-custody of it. So I don't think that it's an investable business. I agree with that. I just don't think that it's something you should be shorting right now, because when the price goes up, we know what's coming here. It's very, very clear what's coming here in the next 12 months. And there's nothing that anybody can do to stop that other than turning the internet off. But then, every company is going to be toast. So I just think that there's lots of, there's better companies that you could be shorting. I do actually agree with some of the things that he said there, as much as some people will be pissed off about that. I don't love Bitcoin mining companies as an investment. I don't. I think that it'd be number 5 on my list in terms of getting some exposure to Bitcoin. So that's the first part, is that I do agree with him, but I still wouldn't be shorting Bitcoin mining companies, that's for sure. But let's take a look at his take on MicroStrategy, the same guy here. So he's shorting Bitcoin mining and he's shorting MicroStrategy.
Before we go, though, I do want to ask you about another short call that you had on MicroStrategy. This similarly, you were short MicroStrategy, long Bitcoin. You made that call, I believe, on March 28th. Since then, kind of flattish for both, right? So how long do you think it's going to take for that to play out? And, if you're talking about that sort of the stuff that it's necessary to fuel Bitcoin mining is such a dirty business, why long Bitcoin at all?
Well, I think as a trade, we want to be hedged, so we're short the miners. We think they're going to zero. Who knows what's going to happen to Bitcoin? Your guess is as good as mine. In the case of MicroStrategy, I think if it owns $14 billion of Bitcoin, the company should be valued at $14 billion by the market. what you see is a premium that makes no sense. You know, situations where they own $15 billion of Bitcoin, but the market's valuing them at 35 billion. I mean, you know, a bank holding $100 is valued at $100. It shouldn't be valued at $500. So that's MicroStrategy.
So he's shorting Bitcoin mining companies. He's shorting MicroStrategy, and he's long Bitcoin. Okay. And then he makes a stupid analogy about a bank holding $100 and being worth $100. Well, I guess if you're a bank, but what happens if you're actually doing more to produce more Bitcoin? And I think that that's the point he's missing here. It actually makes sense that if people are buying Bitcoin because of the fact that they own Bitcoin, the company should be valued at, what do you say, 15 billion? That's what it's worth in Bitcoin terms. But at the same time, you also have to think about what Michael Saylor is doing with it. He's not just like a grayscale trust. He's not a grayscale trust where they're just going to hold Bitcoin and that's all they're ever going to do. This guy's 1% of Bitcoin, 1% of total Bitcoin supply. Think about how much leverage Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are going to have in the future. I understand shorting the mining shares and longing Bitcoin. I get that trade. It actually makes a lot of sense to me. But shorting MicroStrategy, the company who has 1% of Bitcoin and is an actual operating company, they're making software. They're going to be implementing that software into a bunch of different companies around the world to use Lightning and to incentivize people to use their products and services with Bitcoin. And when you got 1% of the Bitcoin, you can do whatever the hell you want. You could become your own bank. So you could be a bank, you could be an insurance company, you could be a medical company, anything you want to do. You got 1% of the Bitcoin, the world's your oyster. I don't think I would be ever betting against somebody who holds 1% of Bitcoin, especially if you believe in it. If you're long Bitcoin and one company has 1% of that Bitcoin, I think you're absolutely insane to be shorting that. So that's my take on it. I mean, I understand the fact that MicroStrategy, now that the ETFs are in play, there will be a little bit less demand from institutional buyers. But at the same time, when MicroStrategy, we've seen what it's done for the last 4 years since Saylor adopted this strategy and what the stock price has done. But at the same time, even before the ETFs, the institutions had other options, including Grayscale. So Grayscale was there. MicroStrategy still outperformed them by a very wide margin. And I think that they're actually going to be doing a lot of things with that Bitcoin that this guy doesn't really understand, I don't think. So that's not unfortunate. I don't really care what this weasel has to say about anything, but that's my take on it. Kat, good morning. Cat 23. It seems like there are, Jason says he must be on Elizabeth Warren's payroll. That's kind of what I first thought of as well when I heard this. Going on, tweeting about it, going on mainstream news, talking about this, why you're shorting Bitcoin or Bitcoin companies. I just don't. Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of giveaways, like the eye roll, like how high pitched his voice got a couple times. You can usually tell if these guys mean it or not, and if they actually believe what the words that are coming out of their mouth. And I don't know. I wouldn't trust that guy as far as I could throw him, and I don't think I could throw him very far. Is it Cameron? To be fair, MicroStrategy does not have good Bitcoin tech, and their ideas are not widely accepted within the Bitcoin community. Is that true? I don't know. It depends really what you're referring to there. Because yes, there's been some disagreements with MicroStrategy in terms of open source development, but I don't think that's going to have any impact on their ability to earn more Bitcoin with the Bitcoin that they currently have right now. Okay, let's catch up on some Zap.stream chat here because that's where the Bitcoiners hang out. what did I miss here? The Grinder says Bitcoin mining is shit. It's not controlled by one government, ours. Anyone can mine and print their own money instead of the Fed's debt-based system we watched, but didn't buy for 15 years. But that's not the point. It's shit. Bitcoin mining is I think it is one of the worst businesses out there. And so I really understand the fact that he's shorting that specific company or that segment of the market. I agree with that. I wouldn't short it, but I'm not going to invest in it. But shorting MicroStrategy, I just think that that's a disaster waiting to happen. But good luck. We'll say that. Good luck. Was there anything else? Any other news here that we need to talk about? No. All right, so let's get to the main part of the show today. Interesting read on the body language. It's pretty, I didn't bookmark this, but yesterday there was, maybe I'll try to send it here. Speaking of body language, let's see if I can find it quickly. And if not, then we'll move on fast. But there was a person, I say person because I don't really know if it was a guy or a girl, but we should watch this. This video kills me. So we're gonna watch two things here live on the fly because I got through that stuff pretty quick, faster than I thought I was going to. We're gonna watch two more things here on the fly. But this clip it was somebody in the US government. And wait till you see the body language on this one. Here we go. What a time here. It's crazy how fast you can just do everything now. I made a post about this yesterday on Nostr though. And I just said, like, it's amazing to me that I can watch somebody on YouTube, whoever that may be. I can watch somebody that I enjoy watching on YouTube, and then I can actually just click a button on my phone, open up Nostr, and I can start interacting with them. And if they're in a good mood or if they like what I said, they can actually send me money. Think about that. Think about that. I think that we take for granted how far we've come in the world right now, because even 10 years ago, nobody was watching YouTube like they do now. We were watching TV. So imagine you're watching TV, somebody that you watch every single day, and you could flip a channel or you could go onto a different device and start interacting with them, the person on TV. And then if they like what you said, or, whatever that is, if they're in a good mood, they could send you money. Imagine if that happened even 10 years ago. But that's a reality of the world that we're in right now. It's crazy to me. And it happens so fast. Okay. We don't even really need to watch. We don't need to listen to what this kook says. Let's just watch her. Let me know what you think about her body language here, or him. I don't know what it is.
Jeff Shogel, Task and Purpose.
Thanks. I have kind of an unconventional question. As my colleague mentioned, North Korea sent balloons across the south into the south that included human waste. Does the U.S. have any plans to reciprocate and send American poop across the 38th parallel?
Thanks, Jeff.
These are the people in government right now. These are the people that you go to work every single day and you pay taxes to these people. This might have been a stripper 5 years ago, and she's in the Pentagon giving a debriefing right now, or whatever this thing is. Like, come on. It just makes me, it makes me physically ill. Honestly, it makes me physically ill. Okay, take a breath, Jor. Let's lighten the mood here, because this guy is probably one of my favorite guys. And this has kind of been a theme around the show for the last couple of weeks, is just how much we're missing this generation here, this generation that I'm about to show. we just need to get back to this. This is called you can't beat old school trash talk. Listen to this guy. You know he's going to be a beauty just looking at him.
Get away from me, you crumb. That's a challenge, except I'll put my dog away and I'll come back. And you got 1, 2, 3. And I'll do it along with you. In that back of that fence. Just the 3 of us, 4 of us, me and you. Show you what kind of a man you are. You're less than a man. Okay? You're a crumb creep. And I wouldn't take that off of nobody. And there's 3 of you and I'm by myself. And when it's over, there'll be nothing to it. Win or lose, okay? But you don't have the courage. You're a real crumb bum. Put that on camera. You're a crumb bum, the 3 of you. And I challenge you. You're a coward. You're a yellow sneak. And if you want to, now what I say, let's forget all the rules of this great country we live in. I will go back to that war with the 3 of you. Just me.
There is a
You're a
here.
crumb creep coward. Get away from me, you crumb.
Oh man, how good is that guy? How good is that? I could have watched that. I already have watched it 5 times. I just can't. It doesn't get any better than that. What a legend. Well, we got lots happening here on Zap.stream. Grindr just zapped 1,000 sats. All of social and digital media is going to 0 against nostr. Max Kaiser 2031. Thank you. And I agree with that. I agree with that. I think the nostr right now, he called him a crumb bum. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. But like my grandpa, that guy reminds me of my grandpa. He wasn't quite as like aggressive with that. But yeah. And as Jason says, when Don Cherry was taken out, that was the beginning of our downfall in Canada. But that generation, man, they just did not give a shit. And they just told it like it was. And thankfully, both my grandmas are still around, grandmas. And I just love hanging out with them because they just say what's on their mind. They haven't been programmed and shamed for years and years about how they should think and what they should say and how they should censor themselves. Oh, what happened here? Did Zap.stream go out? No, I don't know. Anyways, legends. We need to get that generation back somehow, and I don't know what it's going to take. I think that after this whole thing plays out, I think there's going to be much stronger men and women, but we've just had it too good for too long. We lived in a world where debt was very cheap. Everything was easy to obtain. You didn't really have to work for anything. And it kind of led us to this point right here. And we're going to go through some shit here in the next decade. We're going to. It's not going to get. It's going to get much worse before it gets better. And so on the other end of that, I do think we're going to have a segment of the population that starts getting back to that kind of mentality, that lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very hopeful. I think it's just going to take a while. But let's talk about this. So the title of today's show is called "What Happens Next," because it's pretty clear to me what's coming here. And we talked about this on yesterday's show. It's so painfully obvious what's happening right now. Yesterday was the 17th straight day of inflows for the ETFs. January 2024, everything changed in Bitcoin and in the world. Bitcoin has all of a sudden become this salvation for an otherwise dying and bleeding market and economy. Everybody's rushing into Bitcoin because it's the only asset that's doing anything right now. But it's so much different than any other asset because there's a scarce supply of it, a very, very scarce supply of Bitcoin. And yesterday I saw that Grayscale is adding Bitcoin now. So for the first couple months here, Grayscale was basically funneling all their Bitcoin to these other ETFs. And if you think about how this whole thing works and the price, The reason why I'm talking about this today, because there's so much demand right now. There's so many people buying Bitcoin right now, and the price is hardly moving. Why? Why is that? But if you think about how these institutions, these ETF companies are getting their Bitcoin, they're not buying it from Coinbase. They're not buying it on the exchanges. So when they're buying Bitcoin from either Grayscale or however else they're obtaining it, that price is not reflected in the exchange rate itself. So an example would be if BlackRock had agreements with a mining company, or they had agreements with Grayscale, and they were buying their Bitcoin for, let's say, 100,000 because it's so scarce right now, or say even 90,000. If they were buying that off the exchanges, that would have zero impact on the price. And I think that's kind of what we're living through right now. But eventually that Bitcoin's going to run out. Because yesterday there was 1 month's supply of Bitcoin bought in one day. And at the same time, the Bitcoin miners' holdings are at an all-time low for the last 14 years. So you can, if you just take a step back and you think about what's happening here. Basically, these ETFs have been buying their Bitcoin from Grayscale. It's kind of been flooding out of there into these ETFs. The Bitcoin miners have been also selling to these big ETF companies. Like BlackRock owns almost 15 or 20% of every Bitcoin mining company. So if you don't think that they have any influence on where their Bitcoin goes when they mine a block, I think you're being pretty naive. So just think about that. Put all that together. We had 17th straight day, an all-time high of inflows. Grayscale is actually now adding Bitcoin instead of selling Bitcoin to these other ETFs. 1 month supply of Bitcoin was bought in one day yesterday. 1 month supply, 450 Bitcoin are mined every day. So the total there, 1 month supply of Bitcoin was bought in one day by the ETFs only. And that would be catastrophic if there was only the ETFs buying. That's not including retail. That's not including Tether. That's not including MicroStrategy. That's not including Block, who's putting, I think, 10% of their gross profits into Bitcoin every month. It's going to dry up. And I think that there's a couple things happening right now. And this is kind of what the point I want to make today, is that there's a couple things happening right now. And I really believe that they are doing everything that they possibly can to keep the price down. And the reason they're doing that is because they don't want any eyes on it. They don't want people to see the price of Bitcoin running up, because when they do, there's going to be even less Bitcoin. So if you think about that, they're going to eventually run out of Bitcoin. It's inevitable at this point, and it's just a matter of when. But when that happens, they're pretty much going to have three options. First one is they're going to run up the price. This is kind of their playbook. This is their three options here. As they continue running out of Bitcoin to buy, they're going to run the price up to tempt people. That's going to be their first play. And if you think about that, there's been a lot of people who have been holding Bitcoin for a lot of years. And all of a sudden, if they run the price up to $700,000 US, how many people are going to hold on to their Bitcoin at that price? There'll be some, but there'll also be a lot of people who maybe bought that Bitcoin at any point, actually, in this so far. But let's say they run it up to $700,000 US. They're just going to tempt people to sell their Bitcoin to them. That's how they're going to do it. They're going to run up the price. It's going to be very, people's eyes are just going to go like this. They're going to see all the things that they can buy with their newfound wealth, and they're going to sell their Bitcoin, and it's going to go to BlackRock. So that's the first option that they have. And when I say they, I mean like the control structure, the people who have been in charge for the last 100 or 1,000 years. That when I say they, that's who I'm talking about. The central banks, the big institutions like BlackRock. We know that they all collude together on trying to direct the path of the world. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. So when I say they, that's who I'm talking about. The second option that they have here is that they're going to make the cost of living so high that you're going to have to sell some of your Bitcoin. And they've been doing that. If you've been to the grocery store lately or filled up your tank, They've been doing that. They've been making things as painfully expensive as possible. And if you're somebody who has Bitcoin and lives on a Bitcoin standard, you have to sell that Bitcoin for fiat. And so the more that they can drive up prices and make things more expensive, you're going to be forced to sell some of your Bitcoin to pay to live, whether that's your mortgage, your rent, food on your table, gas in your tank. They're going to keep running those prices up to the point where they're going to force people like me, like you, to sell some of their Bitcoin to pay for your living expenses. That's the second option that they have there. The third option is that they're just going to steal it from you. They're going to steal it from you. And I know that that's seems crazy, sounds crazy. They confiscated the gold back in the 30s from everybody to pay for their debts, to pay for their wars. But they're going to do it. They're going to try it. They're going to, if you do it properly, though, you can be immune from that. And that's kind of the point here. Oh, sorry. I almost blocked somebody there. Hope I didn't. But anyways, so that's the three things. They're going to run the price up to tempt you. They need to get Bitcoin. They need to have more of a supply because they're going to run out here eventually. And when that happens, then what? There's a reason why they only buy a certain amount of Bitcoin every day. Look at every day for the last 3 months. BlackRock didn't go out and buy $200,000 or 200,000 Bitcoin in one day, even though they could have. They pretty much have unlimited capital, but they buy it every single day. Why? First of all, that's all they can get a hold of. They're buying the Bitcoin off the exchanges, over-the-counter exchanges, and that's all the Bitcoin that's available at the time. Second one is that if they buy too much and they start looking at too many sources it's going to drive the price up. So I think that they're really slow playing this whole thing. They're buying every single day, and they're adding Bitcoin slowly over time onto their balance sheet, but they're going to run out. And so when that happens, they have three options. They're going to run up the price to try to force you to sell it. They're going to make the cost of living so high that you're going to be forced to sell it that way, or they're just going to straight up steal it from you. So, I mean, what can we do about that? That's the question here. Oh, balance is below 500 sats. Let me top up quickly here so we don't cut off the Zap.stream, folks. Top up. Zap. Paying for more air time. So the question is here, what do we do about it? And at the start of the show, I said that we should be visualizing how this whole thing's going to play out and how you want to react to it all. Because it's pretty easy to say that, yeah, you know, if Bitcoin went up to $700,000, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it till it's $7 million or $700 million, whatever that is. It's very easy to sit here when the price isn't moving and say that about yourself. But then all of a sudden, when you're put in that position, there might be a lot of people that change their mind on that. And so I think that we really need to take some time to prepare for this. Visualize what if Bitcoin did go to $7 million tomorrow, what would that look like for you? Are you going to be selling it? Do you want to leave a legacy here, or do you want to buy a Lamborghini? That's kind of what you have to see, because you have this wealth. You're holding the greatest asset that's ever existed in history right now. And you're going to have the most evil and corrupt and powerful people on earth coming after that Bitcoin. So you can't just be reactive here. You need to be preparing for this whole thing and how you're going to, what your play is there. Okay, let me go back here. So that's the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to leave a legacy, or do you want to have a Lamborghini? That's kind of the thing you have to think about there. Chris, good morning. Good to see you. And then the second one here is that if they're going to make the cost of living so high that you're going to be forced to sell one, you have to counteract that yourself. And I think that if you really want to make a dent in this world, and if you really want to be part of this whole generational wealth thing that we're moving into here, you're holding that right now. But if you really want to make a dent here, you're going to have to make some sacrifices, I think, in your life. And that doesn't mean that you're going to have to, stop doing things with your friends or cancel the trip that you're going to do. I just think that you really need to take a good look at what do you really need in life? And is there any way that you can be putting some of that money into Bitcoin instead of buying dumb shit? So work as hard as you can, make as much as you can, make sure that you keep the lights on, stay solvent, keep food on your table. And then whatever you have excess with that, that's what you put into Bitcoin. But don't get into a position where you're going to be having to sell some of your Bitcoin to BlackRock. That's kind of the key here. So whatever you're navigating in life right now, make sure that you stay solvent, you keep food on the table, and you work your ass off here during this time, because we have a very, very small window of opportunity here. And as I said, if you really want to make a dent in this world for your family and for the future, when my grandkids are looking back, then you're going to have to make some sacrifices right now. And then the third one is they're going to try to steal it from me. That's an obvious one. Get it off the exchanges. Start selling some of your Bitcoin ETFs. If you did have a bunch of capital in that old system and you're holding Bitcoin ETFs, or you're holding Bitcoin mining companies, or even MicroStrategy, they're going to take the lowest hanging fruit here. That's what they're going to be able to take from you. So as much as you can, at the fastest rate that you can, start pulling that off of out from the legacy system and putting it into Bitcoin that you can take self-custody of. Because when they do come to steal the Bitcoin, that's going to be the hardest thing for them to do, is whatever Bitcoin you're holding in self-custody right now on your cold card, on your Trezor, on any device, that's going to be the last place they go. They're going to start with the exchanges, then they're going to move to the ETFs, and then they're going to probably move to Coinbase. And they can do a lot of damage there if they really want to. So you want to distance yourself as much as possible from that happening. So take the Bitcoin, get it off the exchanges, get it into your own cold storage, and protect that with your life. Sorry, I'm trying to. We got another YouTuber on Zap.stream here. KNNMRAN, Zap 420 sats. Thanks for the rants. Are they rants? I don't know. It's just talking. We have to be ready for this stuff. That's what this whole show is about, to actually discuss things in a very logical way. Start thinking about it, because you have to have a strategy here. You have to have a strategy. I talked about this show that I've been watching, Physical 100, earlier in the week. And the one thing I noticed, we're getting down to the end. We actually watched the finale last night. We watched the winner. But the one thing I noticed there is that there was 100 very powerful, very athletic, and very strong athletes in this competition. It started with 100, and they got down to one person. And they were all incredibly gifted people and who put a ton of work into their craft, built their bodies in a way where they could thrive in this type of competition. But when you get down to it, when you get to the 10% and the 5% and the 2% of people, and then to the winner, the difference there was here. It wasn't their strength. It was their mind and their strategy on things. And I specifically remember 3 different occasions where the eventual winner talked about his strategy on kind of like their interviews between. But one of them was how he held his wrist in one of the competitions. That was his strategy. Another one was he was actually waiting. You could feel they were pushing something against each other, and he would wait for them to take off their pressure slightly, and that's when they would push. And there's a couple more instances like that. But the thing that really stood out for me there was that it was the strategy. It wasn't the strength or the work or the effort. It was the strategy there. So once you get to that point, when you're going to be competing with the 5 to 1% of people, it's all about strategy. And so you want to make sure that as we head into this next 12 months, into this next bull cycle, which is coming, without a doubt, there's going to be the biggest supply crunch in history of the world, I think. But you need to be ready for that, and you need to have a strategy in place so that when it does happen, you're not caught off guard by it. So that's it. That's it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Pomp says, I'm planning to sell some of my Bitcoin to buy traditional assets, but I'll be holding at least one Bitcoin for the next 3 or 4 halving cycles before considering diversifying to simplify my inheritance. Probably a good strategy. My only comment to that, Pomp, my only comment on that is, what are you going to diversify into? What's a better asset than Bitcoin? What could you possibly sell your Bitcoin for that's going to get you a better return than that? Not only get you a better return, but something that's literally unconfiscatable from government. There's no other asset out there. Find one. Land. Can they confiscate that from you? Without a doubt. Gold. Can they confiscate that from you? Easily. Stocks. That's a no-brainer. Bonds. Also a no-brainer. What asset could you find that's going to A, perform better than Bitcoin, and B, we're moving into a very strange place here. In the fiat world, that whole economy is coming to a crash here. And they're going to get very desperate, and they're going to be trying to get their hands on as many different assets from as many different people as they possibly can to meet their obligations and to keep their bullshit system going a little bit longer. So for the performance is one, but you also have to think about what assets can you hold right now that they're not going to be able to take from you. And I just don't see anything better than Bitcoin right now, and not even close. Grim Insanity says, random question, do you like Swan? What are your thoughts with their company? Hard for me to say. The answer that I'm about to give here is pure speculation and pure hearsay. But I've never used their company myself. I like what they're doing in Bitcoin. I like the Swan, whatever they call Pacific Bitcoin. I like that about them. But from what I've heard, that the top of Swan leadership is not on Team Bitcoin. They're part of the old system, and they're trying to capture as much of this Bitcoin scarcity as possible by fooling, smoke and mirrors. Is that true? Don't know. You're going to have to verify that yourself. That's what I've heard. So if you're somebody who's in between a few different things like Swan, River, Coinbase, you kind of just have to do your own research on that. And actually, and I know you're probably not talking about in terms of their quality or their customer service and that kind of stuff. Maybe you're looking for more of like a higher level analysis on them, which I gave there, I think, hopefully. But if you do have anything that you want to check out here, I'll show you a really good resource. This is called Hey Apollo. So you can go to heyapollo.com. You can go to their categories. You can go to exchanges. And you can actually you can toggle on Bitcoin only or not. These are going to be Bitcoin only results, which is what you want. And then you go to Swan here, and it says they got an average rating of 4.3. You can click into that, and then you can read their reviews from people. So I don't know how many reviews are on here. It doesn't, 44 reviews. And then you can just read them and see for yourself what other people say. And you can actually do this with anything within Bitcoin. You can use nostr is the number one on there. What does this have? Clients? Yep. So if you are somebody who's just trying to figure out nostr, trying to get familiar with it, trying to figure out what you should be using, here you go. Damus is on here, Snort, Iris, Amethyst. Actually, there's a pretty poor representation there. But there's hardware wallets, mobile wallets. Check them out. Cold Card's got 4.7 review. You're welcome. Heyapollo.com. And another trick here, you can actually go to Hey Apollo, you can create an account. And if you've used any of these, if you've used any exchanges, if you've used any hardware wallets, mobile wallets, reward platforms, you can actually leave a review on Hey Apollo, and they pay you in sats for that. I think it's 200 sats per review that you leave. Pretty no-brainer. Bitcoinium, Noah just zapped 121 sats. Hope this zap works. Did. Thank you. Thank you, Noah. Okay, let's start wrapping up here. The other day you recommended the Phoenix wallet as a Lightning wallet, but it is not available in the US on iOS. So what I would say to that, I think the second best Lightning wallet out there is probably Mutiny. And people might need to confirm that with me, because I've never used it myself. I use Phoenix. But the thing to keep in mind here is that you can use a lot of different Lightning wallets. You got Wallet of Satoshi, which I think is also banned in the US. Get Alby, but just try a bunch of them. And before you do, though, make sure that you're not just sending sats there, because they're going to ding you pretty hard on it. Especially Phoenix. If you want to send some sats there, you actually can't without setting up a Lightning channel, which costs 10,000 sats. But I don't know if you need to do that with Mutiny. I don't think that you do. There's Zeus. There is, what's the other one here that I used? non-kyc. Actually, honestly, Jason, go to heyapollo.com, heyapollo.com, and start looking at mobile wallets for Lightning, and you'll probably get some pretty good information there from that website. So that's it for today. Start thinking about this stuff, and start thinking about it long and hard. Think about it, what you want to do. What do you want your life to look like if Bitcoin hits $7 million? What would you be doing? What's your first play? And play through that in your mind. What do you do? Do you work? Do you continue working? Do you buy some stuff? Do you pay off some debt? Do you pay off your house? What do you do with that? But whatever it is you want to do, make sure you get it clear. And when you have it clear, write it down. And when you write it down, read it every single day, because that's what you're going to do. You're basically setting your direction there of how you want to handle this situation that we're going into and how you're going to react to it. You already know in advance. You would not believe how powerful that would be, because when this thing goes, and it's going to go, but when this thing goes, it's just like, if you've been through a bull run before, it's something that you cannot prepare for just by waiting for it to happen. It happens fast. It's absolute insanity when it happens. And you have to have things in place before that happens, because it's a total shit show. It's a total shit show. And I know we've went from 30,000 last year to 70,000 this year, but it's not going to be anything compared to what's going to happen this fall. So start thinking about it, start really thinking about it, start writing it down. And then when it happens, you're already going to have the roadmap for it in your head. And if, part of that plan includes buying a Lamborghini, then all the power to you. But just make sure that you really want that. Grim says, appreciate your time. Also emailed you for a couple more questions. Would love to talk. All right. Well, we got the show every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Usually goes for about an hour or so. We got the Living in the Future community, which is the private tier of this. It's $5 a month. You get access to the videos. You get access to the community, the 2 different group chats we got going, and we're building some very cool things in there. So that's kind of your options there. And then every Friday we do a live Q&A, which is tomorrow. So if you have any questions that you want answered on tomorrow's show, either send me an email, leave a comment on this video, or show up in the live chat tomorrow. And with that, Joshua, you're a little bit late, but good morning. We're just wrapping things up here. So I appreciate everybody for showing up, for being here, for subscribing, for liking, for asking questions and having discussions. It's what makes the show what it has become. And I love showing up here every day and seeing who's going to be here. So with that, I hope you have the best Thursday of your entire life today, because why wouldn't you? I read yesterday that we only have about 4,000 weeks here in life, if we're lucky. So we only have 4,000 Thursdays. So do what you love, spend some time with the people that you love, and start preparing for what's coming here, because you don't want it to catch you off guard. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Talk to you tomorrow, right back here, first thing tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.